Hello everyone and welcome to The Vortex, where lies and falsehoods are trapped and exposed. I'm Michael Voris. Despite various political reasons for not wanting to come right out with it, the Sspx is in schism. The Society of St. Pius X, a breakaway group established by a French archbishop who died as an excommunicate, is in schism, and canon law makes it very clear.
The Archbishop Lefebvre case is something else. Was he excommunicated? And were his bishops excommunicated? And are all those belonging to and going to his masses throughout the world, are they excommunicated? Are they schismatics? Are they separated from God? If they die, do they go to hell? Can you go to a mass on a Sunday to one of their churches and satisfy your obligation? Can you receive the sacraments from them? Can you be anointed them when you die? Can they be? The answer is awfully simple. Only once did the church in that matter talk about schism, and they've never talked about it since. They stopped calling him schismatic because they know he wasn't schismatic, Archbishop Lefebvre. They did excommunicate formally him and the 4 bishops and the assistant bishop. But nowadays nobody believes the excommunication was valid. Nobody, even the Romans. They know it was a formal action designed to frighten people away from him, but that they weren't excommunicated. He didn't die excommunicated. In Rome, this is the normal thing said, admitted nowadays, behind closed doors. They won't admit it in public yet. In time, they will send out a letter or a document saying that, unfortunately, a mistake was made. And the impression was given that this man was excommunicated with all his bishops and his people. And it was wrong. They weren't. They were quite all right. That will come in time. But it'll take time because the animus and the hatred of Lefebvre is still very high. Very high. And the official stance is he's excommunicated. But everybody knows he is. And then the Pope himself and several cardinals have already published statements saying anybody can go to their churches for Mass on Sunday, anybody can receive the sacraments from them, including confession and Holy Communion, anybody can be anointed when they're dying, anybody can be buried by them out of their churches. Now, they could not say that unless they were convinced there was no schism, there was no excommunication. So it's one of these Roman anomalies where the Romans made a mistake through prejudice and where innocent people have been lampooned. But it's left a scar on the past the 10th Institute.
Various people in the church say, well, the church hasn't declared them in schism, so they aren't. First of all, Pope St. John Paul did declare them in schism, but that aside for the moment, a person or group does not need to have the actual official declaration of the church to be in schism. The problem is, despite all the good intentions and motives, groups like the Sspx are outside the church. They are not in full communion, as Pope Benedict has said. They have no legitimate exercise of ministry in the church and are, in fact, in schism, as St. John Paul II declared on July 2, 1988. As a result, their priests are all suspended automatically from the moment of their ordination. Ad divinis is the official term, and they have no authority to offer the sacrifice of the Mass. In fact, without faculties to do so, each one of them commits a mortal sin each time he offers Mass.
Now, many of the souls that have gone to parishes where it seems like the faith has disappeared have gone into what could be called the underground church.
They have. Yeah. The underground church is very extensive in the United States. Very extensive. I don't know about Canada so much as I know here. What's my advice? And then we have Pius the 10th organization and Pius the 5th organization. Roman practice is this. Wherever there's water and you're thirsty, dip your bucket in there. If it's valid sacraments. And these are all valid, every one of them. So gradually there's a small underground church being formed. Now they're getting 2 or 3 seminaries underground again. and they're going to ordain priests there.
Now you mentioned the Society of St. Pius X.
Yes.
It seems that what is interesting is the controversy over Archbishop Lefebvre is just as strong now as it was, let's say, 10 years ago when the consecrations actually happened. And logically, it should have died out at that time.
That's right. It should have been wiped out.
Why is this controversy continuing and continuing and continuing?
Because the Pius X are succeeding. They're founding schools and seminaries and churches and convents, and they're utterly aggressive. For instance, Bishop Troutman of Erie, Pennsylvania, he let loose on them in some public letter and saying that they have no right to be in my diocese, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. And the head of the society in America wrote him a letter saying, Your Lordship, we are coming into your parish, your diocese, whether you like it or not. We're going to found our schools and our chapels, and you can't stop us. As blatant as that. As blatant as that. The Pius X is very aggressive, and it's increasing. It's increasing. And it's spreading all over the world. Now, by the way, let's be awfully frank about all this. There are about 1 billion nominal Catholics. How many of those are practicing traditionalists? About 10 million. Not more. Not more. But they're very, very fervent. They're very fervent, and they're very serious about it.
Is that why some bishops act so vehemently, even though traditionalists are a small number?
That's right, they're afraid of them. Look at the proportions. It's something you must be astounded at. There are 19,447 parishes in the United States. And every Sunday there are masses in the parish church. Only in about 400 is there a Gregorian Mass, a Roman Mass, a Tridentine Mass. Only in about 400. And yet the bishops go up in flames if they come across the Pius X, because they're utterly sincere. They're serious. They're going to take people away. They'll diminish the revenue of the parish priest, and that diminishes the revenue of the bishop. And they don't believe any longer what the bishop tells them to do, or the priest tells them to do. And that, they know, is the sign of destruction for them.
Hello everyone, and welcome to The Vortex, where lies and falsehoods are trapped and exposed. I'm Michael Voris. It is frequently stated by the Sspx, the Society of St. Pius X, and its supporters, that you can fulfill your Sunday and Holy Day Mass obligations at Sspx chapels. This is not true, as it is usually portrayed. It is true literally, technically, and canonically. It is true literally, technically, and canonically. It is true literally, technically, and canonically.
Now, what's interesting is that the controversy of outside the church there's no salvation, and the Lefebvre controversy are two controversies that refuse to die.
That's right. Yeah, they refuse to die, and this is one of the things which Lefebvre achieved. He said once, it's true, that he was going to put a fishbone in the gullet of the Roman bureaucrats. They couldn't swallow it and they couldn't cough it up. The difficulty is they can't change him. It's too well established economically and commercially and financially. They're independent. Rome can't withdraw their money. It can't take their buildings. The buildings all belong to a separate legal entity. And this is what angers the Romans about the whole Lefebvre thing, that he's untouchable. And they're now talking now and again to him and asking him to come down and talk with Father Schmidberger or somebody come down and talk to them, and they say, yes, we'll talk, but the conditions are these, and of course those conditions are unacceptable to the Romans, and therefore the talk break down. And then they wait for a while, and then they come at it again. Because the Pius X people are not going to give up. If they perish, it's by internal trouble, internal combustion, not because Rome takes them over. And if Lefebvre had given in to Rome in I think it was 1986 this all took place, sometime like that, the society would not be dead. They'd have taken it over, liquidated it. The Romans would have. He saw the danger and said, wait a moment, we won't go along with this charade.
Well, certainly he did put a monkey wrench in attempts to eliminate the Roman mass.
Oh, he did, yeah. They can never eliminate the Roman mass, apart from Lefebvre. But now with Lefebvre's crowds, practicing it in propaganda, having a huge following, running into the millions, financially secure and independent, in several nations all over the world, with a certain unity about them, they're beaten at their own game.
We know that the highest principle of the laws of the Church is the salus animarum, the salvation of souls, and nothing can keep us from saving souls.
On June 29, 1976, as in previous years, Archbishop Lefebvre carried out the ordinations in Écône. He was immediately censured and suspended from the exercise of the priesthood. He was in principle no longer authorized to administer the sacraments.
On m'a mis dans les mains un missel nouveau en me disant voilà la messe que vous devez célébrer et que vous célébrerez désormais dans toutes vos maisons. On m'a dit également que si en cette date, aujourd'hui, ce 29 juin, devant toute votre assemblée, nous célébrions une messe selon le nouveau rite, tout serait aplani désormais entre nous et Rome. Or, il est évident que ce rite nouveau est sous-tendu, si je puis dire, suppose une autre conception de la religion catholique, une autre religion. Ce n'est plus le prêtre qui offre le saint sacrifice de la messe, c'est l'assemblée. Or, ceci est tout un programme, tout un programme. Désormais, c'est l'assemblée aussi qui remplace l'autorité dans l'Église. C'est l'assemblée épiscopale qui remplace le pouvoir des évêques. C'est le conseil presbytéral qui remplace le pouvoir de l'évêque dans le diocèse. C'est le nombre qui commande désormais dans la Sainte Église. Et ceci est exprimé dans la messe précisément parce que l'assemblée remplace le prêtre, à tel point que maintenant beaucoup de prêtres ne veulent plus célébrer la Sainte Messe quand il n'y a pas d'assemblée. Tout doucement, c'est la notion protestante de la messe qui s'introduit dans la Sainte Église.
Si j'ai persisté dans cette attitude, c'est parce que je crois à mon bon droit. Devant la persécution qui m'est faite, je n'ai jamais pu, à vrai dire, me défendre. Il n'y a jamais eu un procès en bonne forme. C'est vrai, c'est toujours pénible d'être en difficulté avec les autorités et je n'ai qu'un souhait, c'est de rentrer en bonne relation avec elles. Mais je me sens appuyé, je dirais, par 2000 ans de chrétienté, 2000 ans de l'Église et par conséquent, j'ai même l'impression que ma position est plus confortable que la leur. Eux, on se base sur une Église qui a débuté depuis le Concile Vatican II. Moi, j'ai 2000 ans d'Église derrière moi.
S'opposer aux autorités les plus grandes dans l'Église, être suspens à divinis pour un évêque, c'est une chose grave, une chose très pénible. Comment peut-on supporter une chose comme celle-là, sinon pour des raisons excessivement graves? Et oui, les raisons de notre attitude et de votre attitude sont des raisons graves. C'est la défense de notre foi. Je fais une œuvre tout à fait semblable à celle que j'ai accomplie pendant 30 années, et voici que tout à coup, je suis suspens à divinis, peut-être bientôt excommunié, séparé de l'Église, renégat, que sais-je? Est-ce possible? Est-ce donc que ce que j'ai fait pendant 30 ans était susceptible aussi d'une suspense à divinis? Je pense au contraire que si à ce moment-là, j'avais formé mes séminaristes comme on les forme maintenant dans les nouveaux séminaires, j'aurais été excommunié. Si j'avais à ce moment-là enseigné le catéchisme qu'on enseigne dans les écoles à ce moment-là, on m'aurait dit hérétique. Et si j'avais dit la Sainte Messe, comme on l'a dit maintenant, on m'aurait dit suspect d'hérésie. On m'aurait dit aussi hors de l'Église. Alors je ne comprends plus. Quelque chose précisément a changé dans l'Église.